Hi, it's Jeff Cohen from the Florida Healthcare Law Firm. Again, with another episode of the Healthcare Disruptors Series. This time I've got a very dear friend, Thor Conklin, who advises businesses all over the world and has worked with me a couple years and really made a huge difference. And what we want to do is share with you secrets from the business advisor side of the table, not just healthcare business specifically, but business in general. He's got lots of great stuff to bring to the table. We're excited. So let's dial back just a bit. What did you get into the business of helping businesses?
After mine failed.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. This is an uplifting conversation. Right. It was. I may. I think I'll get to that answer, but I think you need a little background first.
Okay.
So, I was working in the insurance business, and I was working in the private equity division where we're doing mergers and acquisitions. So for decades, I saw firsthand in data rooms and working with all kinds of businesses around the world. So whether it was airplane manufacturing, shipping, multi-billion-dollar companies. So I got a chance to see all these different companies. And what was fascinating was I saw strings or commonalities between them and what was making them successful and not successful. This predates before I started starting my own company. Started my own company over 25 years ago, bought and sold companies, and then destroyed a company. Not on purpose. I created a nonprofit, and it should not have been a nonprofit, but I got a little too full of myself. I said, if I could do this and this, I can go into an industry where I know nothing about it. Manufacturing, importing, and oh, by the way, my client, their primary language is not one I speak. Why not? Right? Winner. Yeah. For a seller, not for me. So I couldn't figure out how to make this business work. I was 50 pounds overweight, going through a divorce, starting over, 50 at the time. Great time to start over. And I just said, you know what? I missed some things along the way. I missed some lessons. Now, I can either repeat these lessons again or I can learn from them. But it started a journey for me of taking what I found out firsthand, painfully firsthand, and what could I do to help others if they don't go through the same thing I go through. So at the time, I was part of an entrepreneurs organization called EO, tens of thousands of entrepreneurs around the world. And I saw many of them making the same mistakes that I was making. And I didn't want them to go through that same pain. So that's what started what I do today. And it's not work to me. It's become such a way I see things. First of all, it's much easier for me to see things in somebody else's business.
Sure.
I can't even see stuff in my own business. I have advisors that help me. I'm like, where am I missing? Right? Just not good at that. It's tough to see from within. And the more I do it, it just flows. I had a conversation with a client yesterday, walking down Atlantic Avenue, 7:00 at night. I pick up the phone. I said, "Hey, Ryan, what's going on?" I said, "I was thinking about you on Sunday, and I just had a premonition that I needed to reach out." Now, I'd spoken to him a week earlier. He goes, "Dude, you have no idea." I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I needed to talk to you on Sunday. I had a big decision to make, and I didn't know what to do." He's like, "How'd you do that?" I was like, "I don't know how I do it. How do I breathe? How do I, it just kind of came to me." So he's like, "Dude, we got to work together." So he actually doubled his contract. So I was calling just to help him out, and he goes, "Listen, man, I need more of your help." So we actually bought twice as much time for me. So,
which itself is an interesting tidbit of a lesson.
Yeah.
That, and I
learn from that all the time, which is when you're kind of stumped and stuck, just give more. Just give more value.
Yeah.
And then somehow magically life just goes, oh, here's an opportunity that didn't exist until you gave up. I was at a IV hydration conference in Austin this weekend. And I was supposed to give a talk about some legal stuff. And they shrunk it down to like 45 minutes, which is painfully short.
Yeah.
And then literally 3 minutes before I go up on stage, the event organizer says to me, you got to do me a solid. You got to chop it down at 30 minutes, which is like an impossibility for me. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's how long it takes for me to tell one story, you know? So anyway, so I'm like, okay. So I get up on stage and my plans for what I thought I was going to talk about are kind of out the window. But one of the things that really hit me was how incredibly generous and personal all the speakers were. I mean, it was an unusual event because everybody was like super transparent and very personal in their statements and obviously incredibly caring people. And that was a different kind of event that I'm used to going to and presenting at. And I'm going out there and I'm like, I don't have a presentation anymore.
Right.
You know,
Multi-times,
that's really
short.
And I'm sorry, I'm out of here. But I said, I have one thing that I know I can give you. I said, you got a pencil? So I gave him my cell phone number. About 600 people in the audience.
Nice.
I've never done that before, but to your point of picking up the phone because you get an instinct and you just want to help the guy.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do.
And what's interesting is, so the way I work is I'm not like a lawyer. I don't bill by the hour. You basically get my time for the month. We talk once a week, twice a week, once a month, 2 times a month. Doesn't matter, depending on what you want to do, your cadence. But everyone has access to call me or email me or text me anytime, day or night. It's like, problems don't arise between 9 and 5, Monday through Friday.
No,
You stuff
at
at
2 o'clock in the morning.
2 o'clock in the morning. Right. That's right. My phone is on silent at that point,
Right.
so you won't get me. So what's interesting is this guy always, and he calls me frequently, so we're on the phone, even though he has complete contact with me. And he's like, no, I need a little bit more structured time. And he doubled his contract.
I love that. And one of the things about working with you that was great was how connected we were during that time. I mean, we're still connected, but during that time, any day, any time, there was communication, whether it was email or text, it was from me or Autumn. And sometimes people on our team that needed a little help and might take advantage of that. So the rigidity, the structure was kind of gone for us. We would just kind of plug in and you would go to work. And sure enough, what would you do? You did the exact things that we asked you to do. See things we're not saying and ask questions that we couldn't ask.
Yeah, that's what I do. It just comes natural. I think it always has. As a kid, I was always curious about how things worked. And I was constantly tearing apart engines and electronics, and didn't matter what it was. I wanted to figure out, why did this thing do what it does? And I tear things apart, put them back together. So problem solving is, I don't know if I was born with it or somewhere in my young childhood I developed it, and that's really what all business is. If you're not solving a problem for a client, you don't have a business. That's where transactions occur. Someone has a problem, you have a solution, they buy that solution. Internally, however, with your own business, you have problems within the business, but you're in the business and you're trying to fix it from within. You have no optics. You can't see what you don't see.
Right.
And you don't have the ability to see what other companies are doing or other CEOs are doing, unless you're, Google or your YouTube. You need someone, in my opinion, on your team that can point things out quickly so you don't end up making the massive mistakes. Because in business and in life and in investing, it's not about those massive returns. It's about eliminating the losses, and those losses will kill you. So in business, if you have someone that can keep you out of the ditch, that's probably a good thing.
What do you think the biggest challenges are for businesses?
I was telling you about it. Those are my favorite things. Clients, newer clients will call me and they're like, what's wrong with our business? What's the problem? I'm like, yeah, cell phone? Ever take a selfie?
Yeah.
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 It's you.
So expand on that, because there's layers of that.
Right. Everything comes back to
We were just talking about this at lunch.
yeah. It just always comes back to the owners. If you don't have the right team, who hired the team? If you don't have the right team and they're not trained properly, who's responsible for training them? Eventually, it all feeds up and the buck stops somewhere. And I know, obviously, everyone's doing the best they can, but at the end of the day, the results that you are getting is a direct reflection on your ability to execute the plan. Sometimes they don't even have a plan. Well, there's a good start. Let's get a plan together. But it comes down to them. So if I can make them better, and with all my clients, we always start with, I want to create in you the skill sets, the mindset, and the vision, and the identity of what it takes to be the man or the woman it takes to accomplish what you want to do.
You know what? It reminds me of the Keith Cunningham
Yes.
statement where, and he says it because we both love that guy.
He's been a mentor of mine for years.
And he said, my biggest fear is to meet the man I could have been.
Yeah.
So in the context of business, the biggest fear would be to meet the guy that you didn't become.
Oh, yeah.
That the business needed you to become.
Yeah. It's not about figuring out the funnel. It's not about figuring out that didn't work. It's not about figuring out how to do sales. First, figure out who you need to become in order to execute that plan.
I was thinking about this because I knew we were talking today. And I said, the biggest thing that I think inspires business people is serving something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
So that being responsible to a business, being responsible to a relationship, a spouse, those two things require you to push yourself and grow beyond any definable limit that you might have had before.
Yeah.
And so in a weird way, one of the things that I noticed after years of being in business and around business people is that serving the business makes me somebody that I didn't plan on becoming.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad I did.
Yeah. If you're selling a product or a service that solves a problem for a client and you truly believe in it, I believe you have a moral responsibility to tell as many people as possible. Because if not, you're basically saying you're letting people suffer.
You're talking about employees and customers.
Everyone. Right.
Yeah. That's
right. I don't like to sell. Okay. So you telling me that your product or your service solves people's problems, but people with problems are in pain, and you're okay with that. You need to be out there every single day on top of a milk, what do they call it? Milk stand or milk bottle or a pulpit, shouting to the world, I have what you need. So the moral responsibility.
So you mentioned about the characteristics of business people that they need to succeed.
Yeah.
What are they?
Yeah. One of the most common traits that I see in high-performing business owners, entrepreneurs, is insecurity and not feeling enough. Fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Right. So I had I know. I didn't really expect to find that. But I'm always looking for commonalities and seeing what drives successful people and unsuccessful people. And there's a bunch of different reasons. But one of the things that shows up a lot is I don't feel like I'm enough. I feel like I'm an imposter. And I'm not worthy. So they're on this journey in business to prove to someone, parents, spouse, who knows, that I'm worthy. I had a client that very successful attorney. For the last 10 years, made personally in excess of $10 million a year. He's the expert in a particular field. I won't say what it is. And big law firm. He had a plate, a red plate that his mother would bring out, and it would say, "You are special," when he did something special. So he would always try to do something special in school or whatever, do something special in order to get the opportunity. He would do something special so he could get the plate. But then the next day, the plate goes away and then you got to do something special again. I'm like, wow. He goes, I even had the plate. It's on my wall, my office, hanging from the wall. I'm like, let me see it. So he goes over and he gets it and brings it up to the, the Zoom call. And I'm like, I'll call him Bob. Bob, it doesn't say that. Is it true? It does. I said, read it. It says, you are special today. Presupposing that he's not special all the time. That wiring created this monster. And he just had to be the best. And he became the best in this particular practice of law.
Yeah.
But never feels like he's worthy, never feels like he's good enough. It drives him. So it's a great model if you want to make a lot of money. Horrible model if you want to feel great about yourself.
Right.
But it's not necessary. You can get to success without having that. But it's one of the most common things I come across, and they're miserable.
You know what? I find it very relatable. I remember there was a book, I don't know, a long time ago, at least it was probably 20 years ago, about the 4 habits of really successful people, or 4 characteristics.
Yeah.
And I only remember 2 of them because 2 of them are the ones I'm most related to. One is that an inferiority complex. They don't think they're enough.
Yeah.
The other is they have a superiority.
Oh, yes.
complex.
Yes.
They think they know more than that.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm going, guilty. That's me. You know?
Yeah. There's a strong sense of confidence, and they're undeterred.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I run into.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, next, just keep going. It's when I got divorced, and I was kind of reinventing myself and who I was going to become. I started doing endurance events. So climbing mountains of the equivalent of Mount Everest, and kayaking from Florida Keys all the way through Florida Keys, training with Navy SEALs, doing Ironmans. And I remember I was never the fastest, but I was like, I'm just not stopping. You got to kill me.
Yeah.
During the training of the cycling, the Ironman is 118 mile bike race, marathon, and a 2.5 or 3.5 mile swim, something like that. It takes 16 hours to do this thing. So you got to do a lot of biking. And when I was training for it, I was doing a 100-mile bike ride, my first one. I got to 80 miles, and my legs were so cramped up. I couldn't pedal. I couldn't even get off my bike. So I got off my bike. I was able to unclip my clips because you're clipped into the bike. I'm standing there, and I can't shuffle. I can lean my upper body, but my legs are just stuck. And race, security or the medics or whatever came over and said, "You okay?" I'm like, "I'm good." They're like, "Well, why don't you, just walk around?" I'm like, "Can't move." And they're like, "Oh, that's okay. We'll take you back to, we'll take you back to base camp or whatever." I'm like, there's no way you were taking me back to base camp. I am here to accomplish something, and I'm not leaving. I don't care if it takes me till midnight for these cramps to leave. I am finishing this course.
It's so funny. You know what I'm reflecting on is that one year I'm at University of Arizona, which is in Tucson, and there's a bike ride that I hear about. Tucson to Phoenix. I have no idea how far that is.
Yeah.
But I've got a 12-speed Fuji with cages, no clips, and I have no biking gear, no gloves. And I'm like, I'm going to do the rest of it. Yeah, cool. So I'm going on my bike, and, I didn't realize it was, 110-mile run or something like that. I had no idea. And these people in these really tight clothes with helmets and gloves and funky shoes that somehow clip onto the...
Yeah.
They're just sailing by me.
Yeah.
Just sailing by me. And I'm thinking, what a bunch of losers. They are all dressed up like that. I get like 50 miles in, and I'm like, oh man, I'm in trouble. I can't feel my crotch. I've got no feeling in these fingers. And I'm like, and I got another 60, 70 to go. But I remember how painful that was. And you did that plus the run, plus the swim.
Yeah, they do the swim first because it's really easy. Once you get out there swimming, you either finish or die.
Right.
So, you make it in. I dummy paddle, back paddle, whatever it took, I got the swim done. The bike was a fairly easy piece for me. And then the marathon, at the end, I just did a very fast walk. I shouldn't say, not a slow,
But 26 miles.
26 miles.
Yeah.
I had a great time. I stopped at every aid station.
So clearly, I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
Not only is insecurity a common element of business founders, but so is tenacity.
Oh, absolutely.
What else? What else we got? What else you got for us?
Insecurity, tenacity, an unrealistic expectation. They don't really look at things realistically, which can be good and can be bad.
Right.
You got to make sure that you've got some bumpers along the way. They're usually driven by something. Sometimes it's the insecurity, sometimes it's the passion, sometimes it's the product. People love their babies. It's like, I just love my product. You need more than that. What the treats?
How about the why? Do you notice that business owners are often driven by a why, a purpose, a mission?
Yes. So I have a little counterculture view of why. There's been this push on social media. You got to know your why. It's got to be a strong enough why. I don't know. I don't necessarily buy it. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a strong why.
Right.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you can create an extremely successful company without this why, this reason. And you don't even have to be same thing with passion. You got to be passionate. You're not passionate, it won't be successful. Bullshit. If you have a why and you're passionate, that helps.
Yeah.
You don't need a why and you don't need to be passionate.
How
And
important?
if you just have a why and passion and you don't have the other skills, you're just going to go broke.
How important do you think it is for somebody who starts a business to have an experience with adversity and overcoming it? Is that an important thing?
That's a great question.
Because it's a common thing when we're talking to people.
I know.
In this series, we find story after story of like these remarkably difficult circumstances that people come.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just-
I guess I've never really thought about that. The answer is yes. I mean, if you can't figure out how to overcome adversity, you're dead. I don't even know how you're
Quit.
You quit. Yeah, I don't even know what you're going to do. You better.
Oh, this is hard. No,
Right.
told me
Now,
it's hard.
if you have a team,
Right.
let's say you have the artist that creates the product or whatever, they do the coding, and then you have someone else as their partner that is the tenacious, never quit, I'll figure this out, I'll overcome adversity. You can do it if you're part of a team.
Right.
But if you're alone and you don't have the ability to break through adversity, stop.
Yep. You're not going to make it.
You're not going to make it.
How about this? Do you notice that founders are aware of the need for an operator? Have you seen? I mean, like that's customary. They like, well, obviously I'm the idea guy, but I'm an implementation specialist. Is that a common awareness?
So there's different phases of business, right? There's one where you start off, it's just you're doing everything, you're trying to work up to $1 million a year, and you're just bootstrapping it. You're going to just do it all yourself. Most become aware if they're going to go from where they are to the next level.
Right.
They're either good at the operations and they're not great at the sales, so they need to bring somebody in for sales. Or they're great at sales, but they need somebody on the operational side. They're not good at marketing. They're bringing an expert in marketing. So when people get to a certain level, they know what's missing and what they know, what they're good at and what they're not good at. I haven't seen someone get to this level and they're like, oh, I don't need that person. And that's really what I'm trying to do, is get an entire team built so they can just do what they want to do. If you want to, I've got a client in Atlanta who's doing this and very successfully. And I said, all I want you to do is just spend your time playing golf with these big whales and just closing business on the golf course. I said, how'd you like to do that? It's like, I love that. It'd be awesome. So that's what I want for you.
So you had to get them to build the infrastructure.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, they're doing, I don't know, $40 million and they're banking good money.
And do you find that getting founders to get comfortable with delegation is...
Oh, now that's a different story, Jeff.
Because you can build a team.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. Sometimes it's difficult for people to let go. Some people always want to have their hands in everything. If it's going to be done right, I have to do it.
Yeah.
It's never happened with my clients.
No. I'm not looking in that direction.
But it happens.
Yeah.
Right? So letting go is a big piece of it. It's an evolution. It's something you have to get comfortable with. Most people suck at delegation.
You know, it's interesting you say that because it makes me realize, and it's been my observation too now that you mention it, that so much of helping people in business is related to helping them deal with their own very personal thoughts and
Of course.
beliefs.
Of course, yeah. It's, one of the things that I look at is we're not just talking about business. We're talking about what's going on at home.
Yeah.
What's going on in your relationships. How's your health and fitness? If you don't have the energy and your relationships are horrible, how are you going to show up to work for battle? It's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So I want these other things to be squared away, taken care of, in a good position.
Right.
Now you can focus your energies on what needs to be done here.
So when you're working with a business, you're working with
100%
life.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And how do you find that your clients are open to you working with them on a more deeper personal level?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so remember what I said at the beginning?
Because I felt working with you when we had this whole thing. Incredibly easy because you're incredibly warm, you're incredibly intuitive, and you're incredibly curious, and you're also relatable because you'll tell the same story.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
I have a client that has some personal things going on, using some things that he shouldn't be using. And I'm like, okay, it is what it is. I'm not going to tell you to stop doing what you're doing, but I need you to be in a position to do this. Those behaviors are not going to help you achieve what you want in business.
Right.
So there's no judgment. It's just an observation. So in the beginning, I said, we need to make sure we're a good fit. So the good fit is, for me, my clients must be engaged when we're speaking. If you're not engaged, you're distracted, taking emails, or doing something else, this is not going to work. Number two, I only got 2 rules. Be engaged. Well, 3 rules. Be engaged. Do what you say you're going to do. Keep your commitments. And what the third one is. Be engaged. Do what you say you're going to do. And the third one is, I don't know.
They'll cut to it.
They might. They might not.
Be flexible.
Oh, I know what it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell me the truth.
Ooh.
Gotta tell me the truth.
Right.
Don't tell me a lie.
Tell me this not an elusive thing in your work. Is that elusive? Like some people will hire you, pay you to help them and then keep the truth from you? Is that true?
Sometimes. Well, it doesn't happen often with me because I address it up front. I'm like, if you cannot be truthful with me and you only give me half truth,
Yeah.
then I'm going to devise a plan based on what I know. And if I devise a plan based on these truths, it won't work because it's not true. So I need to know exactly what's going on. Then I can help you. I can devise a plan because good data in, then I can help.
What do you think differentiates you from other folks that say they help businesses? Because I know that you have a remarkable depth of experience in dealing with and helping humans on a very, very personal basis.
Yeah.
I know that.
So I think there's a couple things that are unique. One was my private equity background and seeing all kinds of different businesses.
Right.
Second is my deep knowledge and background in psychology, human psychology. Because business is nothing more than people. A business is nothing more than the people that make it up.
Yeah.
And their behaviors and their actions dictate the results. Behaviors and actions are dictated by what? Belief systems. Things going on behind the scene. So when I start to understand what those are and can make those changes, which most business consultants can't because they don't understand it, well, then you're just working on tactics and strategies that you could read in a book.
Yep.
So I think those are different differentiators for me. Having a broader base, Plus, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. I've sat in your shoes. I always love to see, come across someone that's like, hey, I'm 28 years old and I can tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So,
Not very convincing.
to me,
Yeah, to me.
To me.
But
yeah.
what else should we talk?
You tell me, what did you find that was different since you...
It was your humanness.
Humanness.
You're incredibly intuitive, and you're incredibly warm and relatable. So it wasn't like talking with you isn't like talking to a head.
Right.
You're talking to a whole person.
Right. It's not like a consultant for painting company.
And there's no ego involved.
Yeah.
So it's just humans communicate.
Yeah. And usually most of the things I'm helping people with, I'm like, I made that mistake. Don't do that.
Yeah, right.
I thought that was a good idea.
So to me,
No,
it's that. Plus, you're very good at asking questions. You're very perceptive.
Yeah.
You hear things that aren't being said,
Yeah.
and you can work off of that, which is a great skill set for helping people.
Yeah. One of the things, everything is done with video.
Yeah.
So all calls are done with video. People are like, well, why do you want to do a video call? Because I said, I'm looking for micro expressions in your face. And they're like, what? Because your body says more than what your words do.
Yeah.
So I'll ask a question, and if I notice some reaction, I know we're getting close to something.
That's an interesting thing, because we're now in this age of kind of everything, telehealth, advice, tele-law, everything. And if 80% of communication, just making this up, is not verbal, it's physical, it's intuitive, it's more...
It is.
Or reading the energy.
Yes.
If that's what communication consists of, and everything's done through some tele-platform, you're missing a lot of clues, aren't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you really need to become comfortable with video work. I always tell people, my son just got out of college, I'm like, don't do phone calls, do video calls. Form the connection. And better yet, go see him. If you can walk in the office, shake hands, do that.
Yeah, so I look at you as being different from a lot of people who help businesses, in that you're not positioning yourself or behaving in a way that is the answer guy.
No,
Not there to give the answer.
I'm there to optimize.
Yeah.
They call me the optimizer.
Yeah.
That's what my job is.
Yeah.
You come in, you've already started it. You've already done all the hard work. Now it's about just turning the dials, dialing it in. You look at an airplane cockpit, right? They've got all these dials all over the place, right? They're not throwing things around. They're not using the yoke like this. You're just dialing things in, dialing this in. That's what I did.
What,
This should be a quick question.
I know, where do you think business has changed in the years that you've been doing it? Have you noticed any kind of shifting of how business gets done or how people approach it?
I'll say that in some respects, business has gotten easier, and in some respects, it's gotten harder. In the past, without social media and the age of the internet and everything else, things were a little more old school, a little slower, relationship built. You now, with a website, a camera, social media, you can create a business, a multi-million-dollar business from your basement. The startup costs are next to zero. You can build a massive organization without ever having your face appear anywhere. It takes a lot more time, effort, and money now to get people's attention. I always stress with my clients, start going back to some of the old and true tried methods. Digital marketing, all that's great. Do the things that other people aren't doing. You've got to stand out. It's kind of like the gorilla with the, sale sign at the end of the road. It's like, sale. Getting people's attention is difficult. And one of the things that I would say is go back to just the relationships. Go back to going and meeting people and shaking hands and having conversations and building rapport versus yelling at them constantly with a megaphone.
It's funny you say that because we were also talking about that at lunch that, people in business always kind of look for the most difficult thing to accomplish. Like, for example, in the area of sales and marketing, and kind of analogizing it to fishing, it's like, well, I need to cast way over there for a really big fish that might be over there. I need to put a lot of time and energy and effort and really try and do something that's never been done before when there's fish all around the boat.
Right. And your competitor on the other side of the river, on the shore, is casting over to your side.
Right.
Because that's where he thinks everything is.
It's funny. And, there's something about the human mind that makes simple things complicated and complicated things oversimplified.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like the same thing that where you kind of make happiness hard and unhappiness easy.
No.
And everything's kind of a lot more within reach. It's like, start with the simple stuff first, and then maybe one day. So to your point about building the staff, let's create some excess capital to be able to create the infrastructure.
Yep.
And then let's work on delegation. It's like, let's build on a foundation.
Yeah. That word right there is everything. Foundation. And it's one of the, I had this peak performance pyramid, I'd call it. And at the top is like, where do we want to go? What's the overall vision? What are we shooting for? Not goals, but just where are we going? The second is, what are the goals that we want to accomplish along the way? That will drive us towards this vision. And the next layer is, what are the behaviors? What are the rituals that we need to instill in order for us to achieve the goals? And the bottom, the foundation is, who am I? Oh, what do I need to become?
Yeah.
What do I need to start? What do I need to stop?
How much of your support is at that level of helping?
We start there. As part of the onboarding process, I start there because if we don't build this foundational identity of who you are,
Right.
and what role you're going to be playing in, and what you will stand for and what you won't stand for, all the rest, this is the foundation. Once you have a strong foundation, the rest you can build on it.
Right.
If the foundation is not good on shaky ground, how can you build something amazing on top of it?
Yeah. I mean, we talked I don't know how long ago, but a long time ago, about how many people, business founders, are driven by the need to be liked. and you asked me, do you think that that's a common thing or an uncommon thing? And I said, absolutely uncommon, because there's no way to start a business and serve the business and make that the priority if what you're trying to do is please people. And you said...
Well, I remember it a little differently. This is the way I remember it. Even if it's not true, I kind of like the way I tell the story, because I tell this story all the time.
Good.
I originally thought that in order to be successful, that you did not have the need to be liked. I was completely wrong. What I found out was it's a mixed bag. The people that had the need to be liked, really had the need to be liked, have very successful business, many of them. They're just on this hamster wheel.
So is it their cost?
It's at their cost, big time. Big time. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
And then what they're doing is they're morphing into this person in order to be liked by this person, morphing into this person to be liked by this person.
Wow.
They don't know who they are. People don't know who they are. And it's exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. So when I asked you, and again, this might not be the truth because I don't.
But it's a great,
but
it's a good story.
It's the way I like it. Because I use this with clients. When I'm going through this. I said I have one client. I asked him this question, and he said, "Thor, that's the stupidest question that you've ever asked." No, I don't want to be, or don't have the need to be liked at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were emphatic.
Yeah. Because that.
Why?
Who are you? It was a fist punch right to the face.
Right.
It's like. I'm not that guy. I hate that guy.
Yeah.
I don't like that guy.
Yeah. And what's interesting is people think, and this goes to boundaries, so many people have this belief that if you have boundaries, you're just not being nice to people.
I'm like, oh no,
I know.
It's horrible.
Boundaries are what separate you, because the most important person in the process is you. So their perception is, if you don't need to be liked, you're not a good guy. I'm like, that is the furthest thing from the truth.
Right.
He knows exactly who he is. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. If you like me because of what I stand for, great. I love that. If you don't like me for what I stand for, that's okay too. I'm not changing who I am for you.
You know, I have this one thing with business, which is somebody has to have the job to ask one question all the time, every day. And that's, is this the best thing for the business? Is this best for the business?
Yeah.
Otherwise, somebody will come across. I mean, my belief is that human beings are often motivated by selfish, self-centered, self-interest.
Yeah.
And that's just part of a challenge that we have as human beings. But if you put that into a business context, it means that you have a competition going on between meeting my needs and meeting the needs of it, the business. And that's why it's really important in my experience and in my belief that there must be one person who holds the line. Everything goes through the filter of what's best for the business. Because if it's not good for the business, it's going to hurt the business. And then all the employees and all the customers are going to get hurt.
Absolutely. How many people are you responsible for? Hell with.
Directly?
Yeah.
I don't know, 15 indirectly? All the clients? All the consultants?
All the lawyers, all the employees,
Yeah.
their spouses,
Right.
their kids,
Right.
their grandkids,
Right. Right.
clients.
And I feel that as a business owner.
Right.
Like,
so you've got to protect the entity.
yeah, right.
That entity is there to provide value and resources to hundreds, if not tens of thousands of people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very conscious of that because I know that even in this context, I mean, if you look at it today, we've got employees, we've got consultants, we've got families, we've got clients.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, because I'm 63, I'm not going to be living for another 63 years, I don't think.
Yeah.
So at some point, it's other people's businesses that I'm trying to protect and preserve.
Yeah, that's one of the things we worked on.
Yeah.
You're like, originally, it's like, I don't need to deal with that.
You're right.
I was like, yes, we do, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
You know what?
And you know what? Remember what I told you?
What?
It's not about you.
Right.
If you got hit by a bus tomorrow, what happens to the hundreds of people that rely on you?
Yeah. And it was really brought up to me by my buddy who was partner in a law firm, and his partner passed when very short notice. Did they have a succession plan? Not at all.
Yeah.
Did they have anything in writing? Nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we didn't spend all this time and money and energy creating a brand, creating value, training people, creating expectations, delivering value so that it can go away because I step off a curb at the wrong.
Right.
It's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's critically important.
Yeah. I don't need to be like that, by the way.
Yeah.
Because I just call it as it is. There's people in this room that will tell you. They're like, I don't always like what you have to say.
Yeah.
But I say it anyway.
Right, right.
Because you're not hiring me to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just because I see it one way doesn't mean it's true. It's just my perception of the way I see it.
I feel the same way, you know, in the person, I mean, and I think there's a significant difference between the personal services business and the product business.
Yes.
Because the personal services business is so human-minded. So what you're dealing with is the human mind.
Yeah.
And if you can't lead humans, you can't deliver an outcome and you can't sustain that business. But yeah, I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.